It's progress. Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to this webinar from IATEFL PronSIG, and today we are delighted to welcome Ana Paula Biazon Rocha, who will be sharing her wisdom on how we pronunciation ignorers, entertainers, enthusiasts, and/or teachers. Sorry. Certificates are provided to anyone who is watching this webinar live. So if you attend the whole webinar, you will automatically receive an email containing your certificate after the webinar has finished. If you're watching the recording, please make your own note of your own professional development activity. There'll be time for questions at the end of Anna's talk, and at certain points if there are any needs. So please write your questions in the Q&A box, and the Q&A button appears when you move your mouse to the bottom of the Zoom window. If someone has already written the same question, you can click the thumbs up button next to the question to move it higher up the list, rather than writing it again. And if you need any help during the webinar, please contact me in the chat box. To tell you more about Anna, sorry, Anna, someone is a bit hoarse this morning. To tell you guys a bit more about Ana Paula Biazon Rocha is PronSIG's resident blogger and one of our committee members. She is an assistant director of studies and teaching development coordinator at the English Language Teaching Center at the University of Sheffield. She's been teaching English in Brazil and in the UK for 19 years. Anna? So
Yes.
Anna, thanks once again for being here, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Victor. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right. Victor, can you see my screen? Is everything okay?
Wonderful. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So thank you, Victor. Thank you, PronSIG, for this opportunity. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Thank you very much if you're here today with us. And if you're watching this recording on PronSIG's YouTube channel, thank you very much as well. So I will be talking, and I'm afraid I won't be able to check the chat box at the same time, but don't forget to leave your questions like Victor said, and then at the end, we are going to have our Q&A. And don't worry about the slides. At the very end of the presentation, I'll share a QR code and you will be able to download the slides. All right. So are we ready? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to skip my bio, and here we have the outline of this presentation. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to have a look at it. Okay, so this is the outline of my presentation. And now I'm going to show you the aim and the motivations of this presentation. So again, 30 seconds for you to have a look. All right, so as you can see, today we are going to focus on discussing and reflecting about who we are when we teach pronunciation. And this presentation was based on 4 main aspects, okay? First, my own experience as an English teacher, and also my experience of meeting different English teachers in my career. Second, PronSIG, is obviously. The third one is I had a chance to attend some IATEFL conferences in the past few years. And while I was, attending pronunciation sessions or even other sessions in general, I had this kind of light bulb moment, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should try and do my own presentation. And finally, I'm a firm believer in reflective teaching. Reflection makes us think outside the box. Reflection makes us share and learn with our students, with our peers, and hopefully, reflection makes us better teachers. So now I'm going to try to introduce pronunciation teaching in 2 minutes, okay? So hanging there, okay? Many of you might be thinking, why pronunciation? So John Levis, one of the most important experts in our field, has a wonderful definition about the importance of pronunciation. So according to Levis, pronunciation is the most public face of language. That's it, everyone. Thank you very much. Bye. See you. I mean, what can I say after that? You know, my God, this is everything. This is one of the best definitions for what pronunciation is, you know. So that's why pronunciation is important. If you don't believe in me, believe in John Levis, okay? Intelligibility is the focus of pronunciation teaching, all right? Once upon a time, pronunciation teaching was about or was based on the nativeness principle, sounding like a native speaker, whatever that means. But thank God we are past that, and our focus is intelligibility and making students able to communicate in English, especially in international contexts. However, many teachers are still unsure about how to teach pronunciation effectively, and probably that's the reason why many of you are here today, right? And another very important issue in our field is how to bridge the gap between research on English pronunciation and pronunciation teaching and practice. What happens with us teachers and students in the classroom, in the face-to-face classroom or in the online classroom, okay? So now it's time for us to start thinking and reflecting. I'll give you 1 minute, okay, to think about the 2 questions that we have on the top of the slide. So I'm going to show you 3 comments that I have already heard English teachers make in terms of pronunciation teaching, okay? So I want you to take a look at the comments and then think about the questions. Have you ever heard any teachers saying any of the comments? And why do you think these teachers might say things like that? Okay? You can think on your own, or you can put a comment in the chat box. I mean, feel free to have fun. Okay? So the first comment that I have heard teachers making is, I'm an EAP teacher. I don't teach pronunciation. And EAP means English for Academic Purposes. Second comment, woohoo! I usually play pronunciation games with my students and we have a lot of fun. And third comment, I like talking about pronunciation and I often correct my students' pronunciation mistakes. So, a small disclaimer before you start thinking about it, okay? If you have ever said any of these things, don't worry, we still love you, okay? So 1 minute to think about it. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to look at the profile of each comment, each teacher, and then we are going to try to understand what's going on, what happens when teachers say things like that. So the first profile are the pronunciation ignorers, right? I teach academic English, so I don't teach pronunciation. So whenever I hear a teacher saying something like that, the first question that comes to my mind is, okay, are we able to detach pronunciation from language, or grammar from language, or vocabulary from language? Can we only teach language, whatever that means? Another thing is, there's a lot of misinterpretation and a lot of problems when some teachers try to see pronunciation as only drilling or listen and repeat. So why I'm gonna waste time in my lesson to teach pronunciation, you know? And especially when we think about EAP, we have a very busy lesson. Usually we talk about complex things. It is difficult for students, so no way, no time for pronunciation. However, research has proved that explicit pronunciation instruction can really help improve students' oral communication skills. So these are possible critical questions and comments that we can think when we hear the first situation. However, what we're going to try to do today is let's go deep down and let's go between the lines to try to find, like, what do some of these teachers mean? You know, what is hidden between the lines when they say something like that? So probably the main reason, sorry, the main reason is lack of knowledge, confidence, and skills to teach pronunciation. Many teachers have this feeling like the imposter syndrome, right? Who am I to teach pronunciation? As a speaker of English, I don't feel confident about my own pronunciation, let alone teach pronunciation to my students. There's also lack of adequate preparation and training in how to teach pronunciation. And like I was saying, EAP lessons, they usually have a very fixed content and syllabus, and a lot of things that we have to deal with. So why waste? So sometimes there's no time actually to include pronunciation. So let's see an example of that, okay? So usually in English for academic purposes lessons, we work with academic articles, right? Like the one you can see on the screen. This is a text that I was using and, I helped my students with when I was teaching summer school here at the University of Sheffield. So, usually depending on the area is something really abstract that students don't really grasp, right? And the challenge is how to make students understand what they are reading and obviously interact critically with what they are reading. So here's a suggestion, okay? There's a very clear and important connection between pronunciation and reading. So when we have an academic article, for instance, to introduce the topic and the article, we can work on the title, because, if your students don't even understand the title of the article, can you imagine if they're going to understand the text, right? So work on the title. What does it mean? What do you think the article will be about? The topics that it will be discussed. And then we can also work on the abstract, because the abstract is a summary of the article. So, and abstract writing is also one of the skills in EAP lessons. And then we can always focus on the keywords. So what usually happens is we work with that, but we focus on vocabulary. Okay? Try to make students understand the meaning of difficult words. With that in mind, so let's work on vocabulary. Let's try to make meanings clear. Let's also work with pronunciation, okay? And how to work with pronunciation, focusing on word stress, right? Which is the basis of pronunciation learning, right? In this case, what we can do is we can use the most important words from the title, from the abstract, the keywords, and practice with students, because when they are reading the article by themselves, you know, let's take an example. They see the word psychological. They don't know how to pronounce. Like there's a kind of interruption in the flow of reading. So if we practice with them beforehand, when they are reading, the brain is already prepared to recognize psychological, longevity, hypothesis, right? So this would be one suggestion. Now, how do we work with word stress? That's the question, right? So face-to-face lessons, the first thing you have to keep in mind is to have consistency. So how do you usually mark, or how do you usually show word stress on the board in your lessons? Some teachers usually write a capital letter, right? The stress syllable with a capital letter. Other teachers prefer full circle. This is what I usually do in my lessons. So incidental vocabulary, or, you know, new vocabulary, whatever we are doing in the lesson, I usually mark the stress syllable with a full circle. You can also underline, but the point is you have to be consistent, okay? If you use capital letter in all your lessons. And because you are giving students a good model of how to mark stress and the importance of word stress. And then you teach them how to do that themselves when they come across new vocabulary, when they are reading an academic article and they are looking up new words in the dictionary. So you teach students how to create this habit by doing it yourself, okay? You can also use realia. So we can use rubber bands or hair bubbles, okay, to talk about word stress, to talk about long and short vowel sounds. So that is a possibility. Another one that is really common is to use pocket mirrors, okay? So students look at the mirror and they see here their mouth, how the sounds are articulated. They visualize the articulation of the sound, okay? And if we don't have pocket mirrors, don't worry, mobile phones are here. So just camera, let's go everybody, look at your face, look at your mouth, and let's visualize the articulation of sounds. If you're not sure about how to use gestures, body language, hands when you are teaching pronunciation, we have a blog post about that. So this was the very first blog post that I wrote for PronSIG. So I think Victor is going to put the link in the chat box. Have fun. All right. If you are teaching online, right? Online lessons, still represent word stress. Keep consistent, be consistent, sorry. So capital letter, if you have like the electronic whiteboard or something, you can continue doing it, okay? Another way is represent linking sounds in the chat box. So there is an example on the slide for you to see how we can show linking sounds, okay? Another thing is use your own voice to give examples of rising patterns and falling patterns when we think about intonation, right? Another one is you can show or share your screen, right? And if you go to this website, English File by Oxford University Press, is one of the classic course books we have, right? So they have a phonemic chart online that you can use yourself with the students, and students can use by themselves. I think Vitor is also going to put the link in the chat box for you. So phonemic chart, online phonemic chart. Another website, which is amazing and shows the articulation of the sound here, is Tools for Clear Speech. And Vitor will also add this to the chat box. So basically, when we use Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, this is a big advantage. We can share our screen, and we can, or if we don't share the screen, we can also use our cameras. Okay, don't be shy to show students and have students doing it. If they don't want to turn on the camera, no problem. But they can do it by themselves. But you as the teacher, don't be shy, let's have fun. And if you are not very sure about how to teach intonation, you have, it's not something easy, it's actually really complex. Take a look at this blog post. In 2021, we had a wonderful session with Lucy Pickering, and she, basically taught us how to teach intonation. And I summarized the 6 main tips from her webinar. So please have a look at this blog post. And I think, again, Victor, my assistant, is helping me. All right, so this was the first profile. Now we are going to move on to the second profile, okay? So the famous, woohoo, let's have fun, let's play a game, okay? So when I hear this type of comments, I think the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, no, I love it, guys. Don't get me wrong. I love playing games with students and having fun. What's the learning aspect of this fun moments, the game? It's just playing a game for the sake of playing a game? What's the rationale? Why are we playing this game? How is this going to help students improve their language skills? So this also makes us think that pronunciation is not as planned as grammar and vocabulary, okay? So think about yourself as an English teacher, and I include myself as well. We usually when we plan our lessons, we think about, okay, this is the grammar point, this is the vocabulary, check words in the dictionary, make sure that, we are on top of everything if students come up with questions. But do we plan the pronunciation moment, or do we improvise? Okay, it's Friday, 10 minutes to end the lesson, and I don't know what to do. Woohoo, let's play a pronunciation game. And remember, we were talking about the fact that a lot of teachers don't have confidence to teach pronunciation. How are you going to improvise in front of the students, pronunciation game or something, if you're not confident to do it, And again, lack of preparation and training, pronunciation teaching. So let me show you an example of what I mean. So here is a board game, okay? And as you can see in this board game, these are the instructions. Basically, students have to identify the word which is transcribed phonemically, okay? Yeah, fun. I mean, I have nothing against this game. It can be really fun if this is something that is important for your students, and they want to do it, no problem at all. But then what? Okay. We play the game. Woohoo. So here are some suggestions. So for example, after playing the game, students can have a conversation and then some gaps. And the gaps are some of the words from the game. Okay. So that they can fill it in and maybe role play the conversation. Right. And the next one is students discuss questions that have some of the words in the game. Okay. It's a kind of follow-up or expansion, if you will. But the point is, let's learn. Let's have fun, let's learn, let's make it a whole cycle of learning. Okay. And if you're not very sure about phonetic symbols, phonemic charts, oh my God, what should I do? We have a brand new November 2023 blog post on that. So check it now. Okay. Now it's time for us to move on to our last profile. Sorry. Before we go there, I want to show you two more examples of games. Here, these examples are from Mark Hancock, the PronPack volume series, which is amazing. And we're going to talk about that later. There is a song, and in this song, students are going to practice the sound, the long vowel sound. Okay. And then there is also a maze where students have to go from get from A to B, all right? And they have to identify the words that have the same vowel sound, okay? Burn, term, sir, church, bird, turn, okay? So that would be the idea. And again, just play the game. No, play the game and let's use some of the words to come up with a dialogue. Let's use some of the words to discuss some questions. Maybe some of these words are the words that we are going to use now in the reading task or in the listening task. But it's a way to integrate everything, okay? And not just play the game because it's Friday, 5 minutes before students have to go, okay? Another twist on playing games, playing pronunciation games, is this great board game from Brown 2022. And I don't know if you can see, I'm sorry, the quality of the image might not be so good, but it's a board game for students to discuss and reflect on pronunciation. So for instance, if you look at number 6, the question is, in the future, who will you speak English to? Or number 11, are you comfortable speaking English aloud? Why or why not? 14, it's a very interesting one. Are you hoping to speak with a perfect English pronunciation? What is a perfect English pronunciation? So this is a reflective board game. And obviously, you can adapt, okay? Because probably the way it is here would be more suitable for upper intermediates or advanced students. But obviously, you as a teacher, you can adapt the questions to lower levels, okay? And still play this kind of reflective game. All right? And then now it's time to move to our third final profile. The pronunciation enthusiasts. So when we hear teachers saying something like that, we have to consider that pronunciation teaching is not error correction, okay? Error correction is one of the things we do when we teach pronunciation, but it doesn't mean that it's teaching pronunciation itself, okay? And like we were saying, a lot of teachers don't really plan how to teach pronunciation in their lessons. So sometimes what really happens is a student makes a mistake or there's a breach in communication and everybody goes like, And then the teacher goes, okay, repeat after me. Bird, girl, first. That's it. Okay, but this is not the only thing we do when we teach pronunciation, all right? And I think one of the most important questions we teachers have is how to integrate pronunciation into our lessons, okay? And then what might be hidden between the lines is, again, this idea that in published materials, pronunciation is many materials is like an extra. There's always a pronunciation box somewhere on the page, and we have a very short time and we have so many things to do. Let's skip the pronunciation box, like an extra, like don't care about it, no problem. Yeah. Again, teachers are not sure, they're not very confident to teach pronunciation, and we talked about that as well. Syllabus, scarce content, the curriculum itself. We have 100 things to teach. Unfortunately, we don't have time to teach pronunciation. Or if we do, maybe not as systematically as it should. Okay. Talking about that, we have another blog post. So this is how should we correct pronunciation mistakes. And I'm really happy to say that is one of the most famous blog posts, the most accessed posts in our blog. So check it out, okay? And here, I want to show you an example of what I mean. So here at the University of Sheffield, one of the programs that I teach, General English, we use Voices, which is a quite recent course book. It's from 2022. And it's based on intelligibility, different accents, different speakers. And we have the very famous pronunciation box, pronunciation something, somewhere on the page. So the grammar point of this lesson, just to try to contextualize, the grammar point was using past modals of deduction, okay? And then basically the pronunciation point is to have students notice and practice the weak form of have, right? Because when we are speaking, we usually don't say, he must have said something. We say, he must have said something, must have, right? So this is the weak form of have. So as you can see, there's the explanation, and then students listen to the 4 sentences and they write down what they hear. Great. And then you can see an extra activity suggested by the teacher's book, right? That basically students are going to read the sentences to each other, and they have to identify if the weak form is being used or not. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but in real life, I don't say, Victor, now I'm going to tell you a sentence and pay attention if I'm going to use the weak form of have. He must have said something. This is not real life. This is not communication, right? So here we have a suggestion, okay? And this is what I did with my upper intermediate students. So basically, we followed the exercises in the book, and then as they are upper intermediate, they have a better control of the language. They came up with short dialogues in which they had to use the sentences in a communicative context, all right? And they had a lot of fun. And in case you are wondering, Ayana, I'm not sure, how should I teach pronunciation communicatively? There's a blog post. So this is from October, if I'm not mistaken, or September. I think it's September 2023. And check it out again. So let's have a break. Are you still there? Is everything okay? Yeah, good. I know it's a lot and I'm speaking nonstop, but okay. I hope you're still there. Thank you so much. All right. So let's recap what we have seen so far, right? So we talked about 3 different profiles of teachers when they teach pronunciation: the pronunciation ignorers, the pronunciation entertainers, the pronunciation enthusiasts. And actually, what we have also reflected was that there might be more things hidden between the lines when we hear comments such as these ones that we have on the slide. Okay, we talked about lack of confidence, lack of knowledge, lack of skills to teach pronunciation. We talked about lack of adequate training on how to teach pronunciation in MA courses, in teacher training courses, and things like that. We talked about the fact that we prepare everything. We prepare the listening, the reading, the vocabulary, the grammar, but do we really spare like 5 minutes to think about how we are going to approach pronunciation in the lesson? And there are context, curriculum, and time constraints that, sometimes we really want to, and we plan how to integrate pronunciation, but then we just don't have time or we can't do it. And probably many of you are asking now, okay, Anna, wonderful, great, but how do I start? Where can I find resources, useful resources to teach pronunciation? So I'm going to share with you now a lot of resources. Again, remember that I'm going to share the QR code, so you don't have to take photos now, but if you want to, there's no problem. So I am old school. I mean, I love technology, internet, wonderful, perfect, but I am old school. So here we have some books that can help you get started with, or can help your teaching practice in terms of teaching pronunciation. And well, let's talk about Mark Hancock. Yeah, the best books. So we have PronPack, we have the new series Pronunciation for Listening. Another book that I want you guys to pay attention to is the one from Smith and Margolis. Honestly, it's the very one pronunciation book that we have that focuses on EAP, English for Academic Purposes. There are a lot of interesting, great activities within this academic context, parts of lectures, parts of presentations and things. And it's a really great introduction to pronunciation to EAP students. All right, so that's why I wanted to highlight that. Are you ready? There's one more slide. I don't want to overwhelm you guys, but there's a lot. So here's a second slide with more pronunciation teaching books. I really love the Well Said collection by Linda Grant. I think it's amazing because it's based on the communicative framework by Celsi Murcia, 2010. Be Understood by Smolder, 2012, is amazing because it's based on intelligibility, and we have speakers from all over the world in the audio tracks, so it's really good. Another one which is really good, but I completely disagree with the title, is Work on Your Accent. It's a wonderful book, but the title irks me, There's nothing wrong with your accent, okay? The idea is to improve pronunciation skills. But apart from the title, the book is wonderful, okay? And if you're not old school like me, who still use books, and also I understand that it's not very easy to have access to these types of books in many teaching contexts. Okay, I'm 100% aware of that. We can resort to online resources. So we have things like Youglish, Tools for Clear Speech, the phonemic chart that I was talking about from English File, right? We have wonderful pronunciation videos by Adrian Underhill on YouTube for us teachers, okay? The Dialect Archive, Seeing Speech by the University of Glasgow. You can see the articulation of the sounds. BBC Learning English, right? We have mobile apps such as ELSA, such as Sounds of Speech by the University of Iowa in the US. And we have generative AI. I'm not an expert, okay? I'm starting to learn how to use it. I've been playing a lot with AI this term. First, to prepare lessons, I still need to try to use it with my students and to prepare lessons in general, not only pronunciation lessons, but anyway. And if we think that AI, in the future, we are going to have to deal with AI, let me tell you that the future is now. It's happening now. So we need to catch up with it. Okay? All right. So now you are like, Anna, oh God, so many things, so many books, so many resources, so many profiles. What should I do? And then what? So if you feel that you are not confident enough to teach pronunciation, just give it a go. It can be something simple. It can be, very small, very simple, but just try it, okay? We believe in you. You can do it. Lack of planning. Because we as teachers, like I was telling you, in my lesson, I'll do this, I'll do that, and then I'll do some prawn work or some prawn. My question is, what does some prawn mean? Okay, what exactly are you planning to do in terms of pronunciation? Again, if you don't feel confident enough, if you don't have adequate training to teach pronunciation, how are you going to improvise in your lesson? So some planning. And if you feel that you need help, support, someone to hold your hand and say that everything will be all right, we are here. So PronSIG, okay? We have our blog, webinars, we have our biannual journal Speak Out, we have our PCEs, October online conference, our social media. You are not alone. We are here for you and with you, okay? And now to conclude our reflection, let's have 1 minute again for you to think about everything that just happened. Are you as a pronunciation teacher? Okay. I want you to have this minute to think about yourself. And I also want to make a disclaimer. There's no right or wrong, okay? I hope you guys understand that I'm trying not to judge anyone, and I'm not saying that there is a wrong profile or a correct profile, or there is a wonderful, perfect, ideal profile of an English teacher or English pronunciation teacher. There isn't, because nothing is perfect, okay? We teachers, we are human beings. So the idea is reflection. And maybe, the light bulb moment when you go like, you know what? Maybe I should include a little bit more pronunciation in my lesson. So there's no right or wrong. There's you, teacher, and you, matter. Okay, so let's have 1 minute for reflection. If you want to use the chat box again, there's no problem. Yeah, I'm seeing a comment about Richard Caldwell's listening. You're totally right. There's also this dilemma, right? What we think we hear and what actually was pronounced. Yes. Thanks, Sue, for your comment. Lucy, thank you very much. All right. Okay, so I just want to conclude my part and then we start our Q&A. Okay. Let me just try to do this. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for being here today. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much as well. You have my email address. I want to say a big thanks to the LTC, the English Language Teaching Center, and the University of Sheffield, and also PronSIG. Okay. And if it was not very clear, there is a blog on the PronSIG website, right? So please check our blog and spread the word, okay? Share it with your peers. You can find me on social media, and you can also download this presentation now. So yeah, I think that is it.
All right, Anna. See here. Anna, thank you so much for your presentation today. We're going to go to the thank you to the to the Q&A section of this webinar. Guys, if you remember, if you want to ask any questions, you still have the time. We're going to start covering some of them now. I've got some already here for you, Anna. Let's see. The first one comes from Amy Salk. It's more of a formatting tip that he or she wants. How do you add the red circle above a stressed syllable using your Word document? What have you done to show that those labels?
That's a very good question, by the way. Actually, I don't use it on a Google Doc or on Word. I use it on a PPT, on a PowerPoint slide or Google slide. And then you just find like the image. Sorry, there are some forms, and then you find a circle and then you do it. So, but I usually use it on PowerPoint or Google Slides.
Wonderful. And Anna, a question by my very good friend Chris Richards. Can you say more about using rubber bands for teaching vowel sounds, please?
Yeah. Forgot to take my rubber band. Okay, but I can do it here. All right. So basically, let's suppose that you are teaching word stress, like we were talking about, right? So the word was hypothesis, right? So you put the rubber bands here in your fingers, and then you go hypothesis, hypothesis. Okay. Why? In this way, students can visualize that the stressed syllable is higher, louder, and longer. Okay. Now, in terms of vowel sounds, if we have the classic distinction between ship and sheep. So if you do like this, is a short sound, right? Ship. And then if you stretch the rubber band, sheep. So ship, sheep, ship, sheep. So it's a way for students to visualize pronunciation, the difference between a short sound and a long sound.
Absolutely. Taylor is congratulating you, Anna, on your presentation of having so many
Thank you. Love you,
collection of
Taylor.
activities,
You too.
references, the blog posts. And Hongyu Chen is asking if you know of any AI-driven pronunciation test. I don't think we have any yet.
A driven pronunciation test?
Yeah.
Not really. Maybe we need Beata.
Right.
And not
Better.
really. Like I said, I'm starting to learn how to use AI. What I've played with was there's a bot when you use AI where you can write, for example, the sentence or the dialogue or something, and then it transforms into phonemic transcription.
Right.
And then you can work with the sounds with students. There's also another bot where you can basically input the sentence or something, and then it generates the audio, like someone reading the sentence, which is like an AI voice or something. But unfortunately, I'm sorry, this is not
Oh.
actually something that I know.
Ina is asking if you more of a hypothesis. If you had to teach a crash course in pronunciation for upper intermediate students up to advanced, what would you include?
Okay, crash course. All right. How teach students what is a syllable, how to identify stressed syllable and unstressed syllable. So basically, what is a syllable? A syllable is something that is formed usually by a vowel sound and a consonant sound. Okay, so if we think about the word hypothesis, high is a syllable. Why? Because you have a consonant sound and a vowel sound. And the most important part of a syllable is a vowel sound. Okay, so that's how students recognize syllables. Okay, hypothesis. So for syllables, right? If I'm not mistaken. So start with that word stress, a lot of word stress. Okay, then go to sentence stress and pausing or chunking, intonation. So I would go all the prosody first. So word stress, sentence stress, chunking, linking sounds, because they are the basis for communication. Okay. And then depending on your students, your teaching context, their main difficulties, I would focus on the consonant and vowel sounds that are the hardest for them. So I wouldn't teach everything. I would teach, or I would focus on the sounds and things that they have difficulty pronouncing.
Absolutely. No, Gemma is commending your work as usual because you're so passionate about pronunciation teaching. It's contagious, and she's asking you to recommend two books you can recommend analyzing during the Christmas break.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay, and I see that Lucy in the chat box is also asking about prosody, right, Lucy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Victor, I'm gonna try to come back to my
No worries.
here. Can you see the books
Yeah.
slides? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you want to start Christmas treat, okay? If you want to start Mark Hancock's 50 tips for teaching pronunciation. It's short, it's wonderful, and you can read in 1 day, 2 days.
Okay.
So start by that, okay? And then you go over all the prom pack. I would say that would be really, really good. Now, Lucy, in terms of prosody, teaching prosody, well said. Okay, well said is just like one day if I meet Linda Grant, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your books. So, Well Said is an amazing pronunciation book for students, and it works really well and, step by step on prosody. All right. It's American English. However, what I usually do, Lucy, because I teach here in the UK, so what I usually do is I use the audio with American English, of course, but I also I ask some teachers in my staff room to record some of the tracks with me. So students have like a variety of accents. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Uh, Breno Benken is asking if you think practicing listening is important for teaching pronunciation. The premise being that students should have an accurate listening to recognize the sounds they have to reproduce.
You work with both because you cannot separate one from the other. So if students have difficulty with listening, it's probably because they are expecting the pronunciation of words and sentences and everything to be the same as they do it. And if they have trouble pronouncing words, the recording will not pronounce it like that. So, for example, we were talking about
Absolutely.
hypothesis, right? If you say hypothesis, hypothesis, the recording will not say hypothesis, it will say hypothesis. So we don't separate. Remember, we integrate pronunciation in everything. So work with pronunciation and listening. And talking about books, PronPack, the new series,
Yeah,
okay, connected speech for listeners and word recognition for listeners. These are amazing, amazing books that talk exactly about pronunciation for listening, and they are really cheap, at least here in the UK. Christmas treat.
absolutely. And Anna, I think we are going to move to the final question.
All
I
right.
would just like to add to your recommendations for the Prom Pack, because Prom Pack has also got a version for Spanish learners, if I'm not mistaken, and one for Portuguese learners. So
Yeah.
if anyone is teaching those specific groups, you can definitely have a look at those. They're very compelling books for us.
Yeah.
And Anna, you
Uh,
said some. Oh, sorry, go on.
yeah.
Before the
PronPack
question.
5 is pronunciation for Spanish speakers.
Yeah,
PronPack 6 is pronunciation for Brazilian speakers.
absolutely. Yeah, so this is a very good demographic for us. You said something about the so-called ignorers, and that I think that the idea was for them to try to do something. But is there something that you recommend? Like, if you're going to try to do one thing, what would you recommend someone to start doing now so they start incorporating pronunciation to their teaching?
Okay, so what I would recommend is try to search for one of these books or one of the online sources, okay? Because it's very difficult to start from nothing. So if you can find one of the books or one of the online sources we were discussing, start from that. See how you can use something from that in your lessons, and little by little. First, another very simple thing, Vitor,
Absolutely.
board. You are teaching face-to-face lessons. How do you mark stress? How do you teach students how to recognize pronunciation when they check the dictionary? Very simple, easy things. You are already doing something.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for that again,
Thank you.
Anna.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
This has been wonderful.
Thank you.
Everybody, I think that's all we have time for. I would like to thank you again so much for your incredible talk, Anna.
Thank you so
If
much.
anyone wants to continue, oh, sorry, if anyone wants to continue the talk, let me just show you that we have lovely, I mean, Anna has given us a very good overview of what we do at PronSIG. We also have our journal, which should be showing here, but my connection has started to fail me. There is our Speak Out journal. Oh, there it is. Just a second. There we go. Come on. Okay. We have our journal, we have our blog, we have our webinars, we have our conferences. We're going to be in Brighton for the pre-conference event as well. So you'll be spoiled for choice for sure. And so guys, thank you all so much for being with us here. We're going to have some final words by our head, Gemma. Just a second. I'd also like to share the links to all our accesses. So this hopefully would help you guys to reach out to us. They're on the chat. I will also share them with you here on the screen. Ooh, I think you can see it now. Okay. Our QR code leads to all our links, so it's hopefully a very easy shortcut for you. And let me add Gemma to the talk. Just a second. And by the way, the question that I said was by Gemma, it was by Filter. So sorry about that, Filter. Forgot that you were sharing the link. Let's see, there are two Gemmas. Let's see which one. That one. Oh, there are two Gemmas. I don't know, Gemma, which one is that? Is the one with the both have a GA for me? I'll have just to be lucky. Let's see. I'll promote you to panelist and see what happens. Otherwise, it's just built in. Then she says hello to us. Let's see. Da-da-da. Oh, God, I got it right. So, thank you again. Anna, now Gemma, over to you. You're muted. Yeah, sorry.
That would be a good start, wouldn't it? Unmute. Thanks both of you for another fantastic webinar and our last webinar of 2023, which is incredible. I'm just here for a very quick moment to talk about our PCE, which Victor mentioned, which is coming up in April in Brighton, which is the pre-conference event day prior to the IATEFL annual conference. We're really happy to say that we have now finalised all of our event, and I'm just going to show you a little peek at what you can expect if you would like to join. Am I able to share my screen, Victor? Okay. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll bring up this. So our theme for the pre-conference event day, which is kind of funny actually, given that we've been talking just in the last couple of minutes about AI, is the opposite of AI. Back in February, we had our PronSIG book club with John Levis and Andrea Eckelberger, and Andrea really kind of inspired us. Her words about teaching pronunciation to students who have very low levels of English or low literacy. And we thought, gosh, there's definitely something here that would be really valuable to lots of us, especially given, you know, what we've just come through with COVID. Lots of us didn't have access to the types of materials that Anna has shared, and we were relying on just ourselves or what we can do online or on screen. So we thought, just for a day, we're going to forget the AI, we're going to forget the technology which we all love and use so frequently. Just for a day, we're going to focus on pronunciation unplugged and think about how we can teach pronunciation when we have nothing available. So no technology, no resources, just ourselves, our bodies, and maybe a pen and paper. And we have some great speakers lined up. Michael Burry is going to be talking about pronunciation and dogme. So he's got a really interactive session planned for us. I think I can move on to the next. Yep. Yes, he's got a great session planned for us, and he's promising this is going to be really interactive with lots of discussion and exchanging of techniques and strategies and activities as well. Then Emily Bryson and I are going to do a session on graphic facilitation and pronunciation. And this is how you can use very simple basic drawings to clarify communication and highlight pronunciation work. Emily and I have been playing with this for a couple of years now and did a course on it recently. And we think it's loads of fun and really interactive, and you don't have to have anything to do other than a pen and paper. So we'll be doing a session on that day as well. As I mentioned, Andrea Eckelberger will be joining us online from the United States, and she's going to give a session purely on pronunciation for these low-level students, these low literacy students who, you know, these wonderful pronunciation materials may not be as beneficial for because of their level of English. So she's going to talk about how these students, how we can help them when we have no technology or no resources around us. And finally, we'll be welcoming back Marisol Hernandez from Argentina, and she's going to be talking about pronunciation and drama and how we can use drama exercises and activities spontaneously with no resources to help us learn and practice all the features of pronunciation. So yeah, we're really excited about this lineup. And as I said, it kind of bucks the AI technology trend that we're all so wrapped up in right now. The event is accessible in person in Brighton, but also online. This is a hybrid event. So if you can't make it to Brighton to join us, you can join us on Zoom, just like this webinar here. I think, Victor, you're going to be hosting the online group, aren't you, if I remember correctly? So, Victor,
Probably.
your host today, will be there, a familiar face if you want to join us online. To actually register, I just want to highlight, because it's a hybrid event, there are two separate ways to register. There is an in-person registration, but there's also an online registration. So be very careful when you go on to register that you're choosing the right one. These have different prices, and obviously you want to make sure you get the correct registration depending on your location and where you're going to be. When you register for the event, if you choose to do so, you do need to have an IATEFL account. If you have one already, you just click login on the IATEFL webpage. If you don't have one, you can make one. So by clicking login for the first time, you can create your own profile, and that will allow you to register should you wish to. And that's all I had to say for today, but more information will be coming on this on email to PronSIG members. It will also be coming up on our social media, and I'm sure Anna will be talking about it in her blog in the month before the event as well. So we really hope you can join us. We're really, really looking forward to it, and hope you can make it.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for that, Gemma. And everybody, just as we always like to invite everyone, if you're not a member already, you can find information about joining IATEFL and PronSIG on our website. This webinar will be available to view again on our YouTube, Vimeo website channel early next week. So thank you all for joining us today, and huge thanks to Anna and Gemma. And until next time, it's goodbye from us from here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.